If our clients said, look, I'm looking at multiple markets, and they got in front of you and they said, Jodi, why should I buy in Indy today? What would be your pitch to them? All right. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Replace Your Income with Kevin and
Steve. How's it going this morning, Kev?
It's great. You know, we were going to record this podcast a half hour ago, and Steve got stuck in the line at McDonald's. And so we're recording it now, which is great.
Well, hey, that's my excuse, actually. I know that you know that whenever I'm late for anything, Jodi,
Yes.
I just let him know that I'm stuck in the lineup at McDonald's. And then he knows that I'm just kind of running behind.
Okay, hold on. Guys, first of all, welcome to the podcast. Good to be here. You know that Steve and I always love to begin our adventure together. We just like to have fun and talk about stuff. And so I got to tell the story real quick, Steve. I shared this with Jodi, and then Jodi shared an amazing story. By the way, if you're watching on YouTube, you see the beautiful Jodi Gandy, who's here with us. She is our amazing agent in Indianapolis. We're going to be talking today all things Indianapolis, why it's a great time to be in Indy. And Jodi has some amazing stuff. She is incredible. She's just one of our favorite humans on the planet. But so Jodi, even before we get into the stuff that we just talked about, we were going to do where you're going to introduce yourself, or we're going to talk about Indy. I'm going to have you tell your story that you just told me, if you don't mind. But I'm going to back up for a second. So Steve, okay, I was telling Jodi this, Steve. I think the meeting that we had, it was probably 12, 13 years ago. And Steve, for whatever reason, was running a little bit late. And so he texted us all and he was like, sorry, I got stuck in the line at McDonald's. Now, this was a time when I'm pretty sure Steve was training for like his 100 billionth marathon. So we all knew that he wasn't actually at McDonald's, but it became this running joke. So Steve is ever late for a meeting. He texts me and says, sorry, I'm running late. I got stuck in the line at McDonald's. So I shared that with Jodi, Steve, and then Jodi shared this amazing story.
Yes. So, okay, Steve, this past weekend, my daughter was graduating from Purdue University. So we're all there at the commencement, and it's taking a long time, right? And my son was there with his little boy, who's like 3. Everyone's hungry. No one, ate beforehand. And so I said, you probably have a few minutes to go get some snacks, because they're awarding everyone their doctorate, their master's, and then they'll get down to the bachelor degrees. So like, okay, so he leaves and decides to go to McDonald's. No lie. No lie. Stuck in the drive-thru for a lot longer than he thought. So by the time they get back, they missed my daughter walking across the stage by like 30 seconds.
That's pretty funny. That's great.
I just thought that was such a funny story, because we joke around about that all the time, Steve, and then it actually happened to Jodi's son. Well, what a good way to start the episode. Guys, we're excited to be with you. Thank you for watching on YouTube. And if you're listening on just any podcast platform, we're so glad that you're here listening. But you should also go and subscribe to our Done For You Real Estate YouTube channel, because we publish all these podcasts on YouTube as well. So today we are going to be talking about Indianapolis. Now, before we really dive into why we love Indy, why we've been in Indy for a long time, Jodi has some obviously firsthand knowledge. She's been our agent on the ground in Indianapolis for a long time. She's phenomenal. And Steve, we wanted to talk just a little bit about, in general, right? We are beating this drum, and we are going to do it every single time we are on this podcast, because just today I was listening to a podcast, and this was a podcast where, let's just say that the agenda of the podcast was to cast doubt on the current administration and economic policy. And so it does not matter which side of the aisle you are on, you will hear data that will justify their position. Now, what's interesting about that is when we look at the real estate market, when we look at the buying market, when we look at just the economy in general, we know that things are not perfect. That's not a question, right? But I don't know if things are ever necessarily perfect. I mean, economies ebb and flow. But what you'll always hear some negative information about just about any economy that you're in, primarily because there's somebody that is promoting some kind of an agenda, right? Now, I was listening to this podcast this morning, Steve, and listening to it, it was literally like, nobody should ever leave their house ever again. We should all just never spend money. We should probably just, I don't know, find a way to grow corn and never, ever have to buy anything ever because the economy is so bad. Now, look, we know that inflation is high. We know that interest rates are high. We know that maybe economically it's not what we would like it to be. But if you were to listen to people and the news media, regardless of where that information is coming from, you are going to hear things that will likely terrify you from wanting to be in the market. But Steve, you and I keep saying it. If we look at just based on our experience and the baseline of having done this for, nearly 2 decades and all of the ebbs and the flows of the economy, one of the things we can stand here and say with certainty is now is always a good time to buy real estate. And this market right now is kind of an interesting situation where there's a lot of people afraid to buy. And so if we can go and be greedy when others are fearful, we get to be in an ownership position as the market recovers whenever that might be. So let's talk just briefly about that. And then let's transition over to kind of why we love Indianapolis so much.
Yeah, just briefly, Kev, like I'll just echo what you just said. Some of the greatest investors, some of the wealthiest people who have ever lived in our country have used that mantra of sell when everybody else is greedy and buy when everybody else is fearful. And right now, what you just described, it's on every news channel, on every talk radio station, that everybody's fearful what's going on in the economy right now. Now, that's not to say, like you said, that things are like perfect, but the economy does ebb and flow. But those who are kind of, promoting the news and so on, they tend to speak in absolutes. They tend to speak in exaggeration. And they do it. They have to do it because they're selling something. They're selling the news. They have to sensationalize things. And the reality is there's nothing sensational about this market except that it's normal. The fact that interest rates are actually normal, appreciation is actually normal, that the opportunity to buy, you're not bidding against 20 other people. You're bidding against yourself. You're working with, typically right now, you can make an offer on a property a little bit below asking price, and you're probably going to get it a little bit below asking price or at asking price. That's normal. The market is normal, and normal is good. You win every time with normal. The predictability is awesome. And normal is what's going on in Indy right now. And so we're super excited about Indy. Yeah. And I'll kind of end with this to echo one more thing that you said, is that, Kev, like the wealthiest people have implemented this concept of buying when everybody else is fearful and then taking advantage a little bit down the road. Andrew Carnegie, the guy bought the Grand Tetons. He bought the Grand Tetons back in the day. I'm not saying that we can go out and buy a mountain range right now, but you can buy one single family home, and a few years from now, you will benefit enormously to the tune of very potentially 6 figures from appreciation, cash flow, depreciation, all the benefits that we talk about. And so, Kev, obviously we're super excited about real estate ourselves. We put our money where our mouth is. You and I are on our 6th property. We've got 2 more lined up that we're working on here in the next few weeks. And it's because we know that right now is a fantastic time to be buying. Anytime is actually a fantastic time to be buying when you're buying in the right markets and you're buying at the right price point and you're buying the right everything, right? And that's what we do. And so we're super excited about the opportunity right in front of us. So having said that, I'm so grateful that Jodi is on the call with us. I've known Jodi now going on, I think, 10 years. And in fact, I probably owe you a watch for, being in the 10-year club, working with us.
Yeah, she needs one.
In fact, I've got one with your name on it, Jodi. We'll have to share that with you next time you're in town. Right. So just a real brief introduction to Jodi. We've known each other for a long time. Kev has known Jodi for a long time. We've worked with her. She's literally helped our clients purchase hundreds and hundreds of properties, and properties that have performed extremely well. And Jodi is one of the most service-oriented individuals that we have the opportunity to work with. And that's one of the keys to the longevity of this relationship is we're kind of cut from the same cloth in our efforts to provide value to our clients, to hopefully when the going gets rough, we don't run away. We meet it head on. Jodi's had her share of, things here and there that clients just needed extra help with. And she's been right there and been right in the mix, been literally the tip of the spear to help resolve any issues. And then, of course, just delivered fantastic properties month over month, year over year. So super grateful to have you on the on the podcast today, Jodi. Would you mind maybe start off? Tell us a little bit about your story getting into real estate, your connection with them for your real estate, and what your story and journey has looked like over the years.
Sure. Yeah. So I started in real estate as an investor. I was just kind of wanting to, get familiar with the process, and ended up buying a couple of rental properties here in Indianapolis. And kind of really was intrigued by the whole, real estate game. And so that was back in 2008. And my first property I bought right before the market crashed. So perfect timing. No, but I learned some lessons that way, and ended up holding on to that as a long-term rental for a while. And then obviously markets are cyclical, ended up gaining the value and the equity back in the home by holding it for a long period of time. Everything was fine, made money. It worked out really well. In the meantime, I decided in 2013 to kind of switch gears in terms of my career. I was working with a CPA firm for quite a while, and then really wanted to get into real estate professionally. So, long story short, ended up joining a small brokerage and was working as their transaction coordinator. And during that time working with them, that is when I actually met Done For You. And they were interviewing a company in Indianapolis to be the property management company, which this brokerage also did, was property management as well. And then they were looking for an agent. So what happened was Done For You ended up going with a different company to do the property management, and then with a brokerage for, their realtor needs. Shortly thereafter, I decided to start my own brokerage. And fortunately, the relationship with Done For You continued. And that was almost 10 years ago. So I've been working with you guys and your clients ever since. I think we've done close to 700 properties together. So we've had a lot of fun.
That's awesome. And I just got to say, having bought a property with you in Indianapolis, Jodi, not all agents are created equal. You are definitely a cut above the rest, just in terms of who you are, how you relate to the clients, the communication that you have. You're awesome. And we're so thankful for you. And thanks for sharing your story. I remember, for years now, just seeing the name Jodi Gandy, right? Because we were doing so many properties with our clients in Indianapolis. And it has been one of these markets that, just to kind of give everybody a little bit of background of when we first decided to kind of move into the Indy market. After the crash, you heard Jodi talk a little bit about the crash. We were buying a lot of real estate in markets like Las Vegas and Phoenix and Florida. These were markets that had really had a massive run up, and then they had a massive overcorrection. And so we were buying homes, for significantly even below rebuild cost in those markets. But as the market started to shift a bit, and as we started to see a little bit of a normalization start to happen, this is now 10 years ago, we started to do research to say what markets could we go to that didn't see the same sort of fluctuation, that had all of the economic factors that make it a purchase-worthy property, that make it a real estate single. And Indianapolis was one of the first ones that we saw and evaluated and then said, this is where we want to go. It was a market that had a great price point. There was cash flows available. It was an incredible market just economically, right? Everything from economic growth to just the job market to sort of the overall makeup of the economy, as well as it was a landlord-friendly state. All of the things that you guys have heard us talk about in terms of why we like to open a market. Now, having been in Indianapolis for a lot of years, you're probably wondering, okay, well, is Indy still a good place to buy? Now, we say 100% absolutely, but Jodi, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about what is it like in Indianapolis right now? Why is it a good time or a good place to be buying? And kind of get everybody up to speed on the Indy market as it is today.
Yeah, sure. So obviously we've had a lot of appreciation over the past 10 years, which a lot more than what we expected. Which is nice, but we're still a very, very affordable housing market. We're kind of like a small, big city. So in that our median value is about 275 compared to the national home median value, which is over 400,000. So we have a lot of room to grow. We have a lot of job growth right now. Just north of Indianapolis, we have Eli Lilly building a new campus. They're a pharmaceutical company that has been headquartered in downtown Indy for a long time. but they're building a $2 billion campus just north of Indianapolis. So over the next few years, we're talking 1,500 construction jobs, over 500 new high-paying jobs at the campus once it's built. So there's a ton of growth that's taking place right now. Even downtown Indy, we have about $150 million redevelopment projects going on. We have hundreds of new homes being built east and northeast of Indianapolis. So we really are this small, big city, but it's affordable. We have great job growth. We have great population growth. And also, like you mentioned, we're a landlord-friendly state. So we have about 40% of people renting in Indy. And with it being a landlord-friendly state, you have just kind of the perfect, market for investors looking to buy single-family homes.
That's awesome. And there's still a race that happens there from time to time, right? I've heard of something.
Yeah, there's a small little car race,
Yeah. Okay, but
just this little small thing.
I am curious, what happens in Indianapolis during the Indy 500? Does the place just transform?
Yeah, it's so much fun. They have like all kinds of activities downtown and then at the speedway itself. So, oh yeah, it's a ton of fun.
That's awesome.
I think we had 500,000 people come in for that event.
So I need to go. Every time I think about it, I'm like, every time I think about Indianapolis, I'm like, that would be a really good excuse to get a tax write-off for part of a trip to go visit a property,
Yes.
So what time of year is that then?
Around.
What time of year do they do that race? Do you know?
In May, the end of May.
All right.
Yeah, no, it's a good time. You should come visit
go out there.
us.
That's awesome. That's great. No, I appreciate you kind of sharing all of that stuff, just kind of some of the growth that we're seeing. Now, one of the things that I think is interesting that I'd love for you to talk to as well is Indianapolis and a lot of the relationships that you've built that we've been able to leverage for our Done For You real estate clients means we can find both existing construction and new construction. And I don't know that our clients really think of Indy as a new construction market. It's not like we're doing primarily new construction, but talk a little bit about kind of that environment as well.
So Indy has been really awesome in terms of new construction lately, because we are one of the few markets where you can buy a single family home, a 4-bedroom home, even with 2,000 square feet for under $300,000.
Crazy.
It's awesome. I mean, your rent scales really well at that price point, and there's a lot of demand for those types of homes. So it's just, I think, the prime time to buy new construction right now. We have relationships with local and national home builders in Indianapolis. And that's been really nice because not only do you get this great house at a good price point, with builders, you have a builder's warranty. So for example, the first 2 years, most everything's covered, and then 10 years, everything structural is covered. So it's really a nice way to lower your maintenance costs and also get kind of that, the high end of the rent range that way. You're also, of course, all the other, benefits of owning real estate where you're getting the appreciation over time, you're building equity, you have the tax deductions. I mean, there's so many, good reasons to buy. So, but yeah, I've really been enjoying the new construction properties that we've had here lately.
And I would say on that note, it was just a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago, Jodi, that we had a pretty significant conversation. I went out there. We toured a lot of the different areas, and we as a company, Done For You Real Estate, we'd really enjoyed the opportunity to be in new construction in some of our other markets, and we hadn't quite yet tapped into that part of the Indy market. And so you went to work and started developing some great relationships with a number of builders, and did just a phenomenal job connecting builders to our system, to our process, to our clients. And that's been a really good experience over the last several years. And I don't know what the number of new construction homes that we've delivered, but the number is continuing to grow, and it's been a really great opportunity.
Yeah, no, it has been. And honestly, especially last year when we saw prices appreciating so quickly, it was getting a little more challenging to be under that $300,000 price point. But right now, prices have stabilized, which is another great reason to buy right now. As you mentioned, we can usually get like a little under list price when we're offering, and especially new construction, there is a little negotiating room there with the builders right now. They know rates are, higher than we want them to be at the moment, but they also now are building in incentives for us to buy with them. And it's just really the perfect time to do the new construction piece here in Indy.
One of the other things that I want to touch on briefly with Indy that I think is really good to just kind of discuss for the audience too is we recently we've talked about it on the podcast. If you're on our email list, you guys have got emails. You kind of know if you go to the website, you see it. But we have a new kind of property management partner that is now in all of our markets, meaning we've got one property management company that we are working with in all of our DFY markets. That property management company is Specialized Property Management. Now, Steve and I have spent tons of time with Chuck, who's the owner of Specialized, as well as Zane and Rod and some of the other folks at Specialized that we've had a chance just to get to know and really sort of figure out how to integrate our companies. Now, what that means, though, there's the corporate side of that relationship, and then there's the real life property managers in the market working directly with people like you, Jodi, working with the agents, working with our team in the office to vet properties and then to go and get the properties, rehabbed and leased out. And I know that as we kind of made this transition, there's been some massive benefits in kind of transitioning and working with Specialized for our clients. First and foremost, I mean, we're talking about a flat fee structure across all markets that is identical, right? Meaning you know what you're paying every single month, no matter what the purchase price is, no matter what the rent is. But then in addition, having one property manager that can, imagine one place that you can log in and see kind of all of your properties in one place. And I know that you have had a lot of one-to-one experience working with Specialized in Indianapolis. Maybe talk a little bit about what that relationship has been like as that's kind of developed and as we've just sort of got started with the Specialized property management relationship in Indianapolis.
Yeah, no, it's been awesome. One thing that I really do appreciate about them is they have the technology piece perfected, but they also are very responsive with customer service. For not just me, but also for, my clients, because that's really important with property management. You want to have that communication there flowing. And like you mentioned, the affordability, that's huge. I mean, the property management piece is so crucial when buying an investment home, that it has to, obviously be an exceptional service, but also at an affordable price point. And SPM has definitely delivered both of those. So I've really enjoyed working with them over the past few months for sure.
And many of our clients who own properties in Indianapolis own properties in other markets across the country. And I'm probably the main reason why we wanted to, look for a new one-stop shop solution in terms of property management is to simplify the experience for our clients who in the past would have to deal with, multiple property managers, and it can become kind of cumbersome. And so this was kind of the goal, the effort to bring it all in under one roof. One of the things that you touched on as well that they're so good at is that technology piece.
Yeah.
On the buy side, they have some AI that's just incredible. They have it's a program that they call Rent Finder, and it helps you the agent kind of vet the possibilities for rent very quickly. But then they pull in this human element where you can have a conversation with them to discuss. It's the AI, right? So it's this combination of technology and the human touch in order to bring together kind of the best of both worlds. And so it's been awesome to have them work to get the indie market open, which they did in the last few months. And so you've had that opportunity to work with them, and so it sounds like your experience with them has been fairly positive.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I think one of the fun experiences right off the bat with them was we had a property listed, and right away they had a couple of different applicants for the same home. So it ended up being that, they gave both of the applicants the opportunity to kind of submit their highest and best offer, right? So we ended up getting well over what we thought we were going to get in rent for that property. And then that kind of set the stage for some other homes in the same neighborhood. So it just was, I don't know, I just really like their approach, for marketing the properties as well. They just make it easy, and then they take, the client's best interests, of course, and expand that into their customer service and their technology. And it's just been really cool.
It's awesome. And we're super excited about that relationship with SPM. It's nice to kind of hear your experience with it. And it's not to say just everybody listening. I mean, we got a lot of clients listening. We love all of the property managers we've worked with in the past as well. They're amazing. This just got to the point where we knew for our clients, we needed to have a workable multi-market solution so that it wasn't about logging into 5 different software platforms to kind of see how your 5 properties were doing across 5 different markets. It was just the simplicity as well as the technology piece and service piece. And it's been nice to see kind of what that rollout has looked like in Indy as well. Well, this is awesome. So Jodi, what would you say to somebody if somebody came to you, right? If our clients said, look, I'm looking at multiple markets, and they got in front of you and they said, Jodi, why should I buy in Indy today? What would be your pitch to them?
Well, it's been a great time to buy in Indy. I mean, not just today, right?
Right.
But especially right now, I think, like I mentioned, the affordability of our housing market and the high demand for rental properties here is just a really great opportunity for buyers right now, because you're taking, these price points that you get to kind of take advantage of right now while we have this, like Steve said, back to normal market. And you get to combine that with the demand from renters, the landlord-friendly laws that we have in Indiana, and just really take that and use it for your own benefit over the next 5 to 10 years. See that appreciation that we're going to see because we have higher than normal job growth here. We have very strong population growth as well. So all of those factors combined right now, it just kind of makes it a win-win scenario to buy.
That's awesome. We love Indy. We love Jodi. Steve, any other thoughts before we wrap the episode?
No, I think we've kind of hit all of the highlights. I'm super excited about Indy. Super excited to to continue helping our clients buy there. Fantastic area. I'm looking forward to our next trip out there. Kev, I think we need to go like next spring.
Yeah,
to the Indy 500. Like I
think it's imperative.
When Jodi started talking about that, I was like, I started having these visions of like taking my grandsons to the Indy 500. I'm I'm going to do that next spring.
Yeah,
I'm absolutely going to do that.
Dude, I've never been to a race like that. And why? There can't possibly, I mean, that is like the big one. And we can go visit properties and we can visit Jodi. I mean, it really is just a win-win. There's really no reason not to do it, I think. I think it's kind of imperative that we do. And we're going to ask for everybody's support in that. Not financially, just emotionally. I think it's important that we do it, but
I will also need the emotional support.
Oh, Jodi, you're awesome. Thank you so much for jumping on Replace Your Income. Thanks for allowing us to feature you and the Indianapolis market. Guys, if you're listening, Indy is a great place to be buying right now. Like Jodi said, we've done hundreds. She said, what would you say? Near 700
Almost
properties?
700.
Unbelievable. Just think about that. So, and where Jodi has been the one facilitating these purchases for our clients, don't you think she might have a little bit of expertise? Jodi, would you consider yourself an expert by chance?
Yes, I think I would at this point.
I would too. My goodness, can you imagine? That's so many homes. That's awesome. No, listen, Jodi's amazing. Indy's amazing. We appreciate you guys listening to the podcast. Make sure that you're subscribed to the Daily Fastball out there. Go to dailyfastball.com because we send deals out on a regular basis. You can see some Indy deals. I know there's times when we'll get a hot one from Indy and Jodi will send us an email or a text like, ooh, this is a hot one. Let's get somebody on it. And we just send it out to everybody and see if we maybe have some, somebody that wants to take a nibble, some of these new construction properties, just amazing stuff. So keep that up, Jodi. Everybody should be subscribed to the Daily Fastball. Please go and subscribe to this YouTube channel and hit that bell so you can get notifications, and make sure that you're subscribed up on whatever your podcast platform might be, whether that's Spotify or Apple iTunes or whatever it is. We'd love to be able to connect with you guys. We're thankful for you. If you're interested in wanting to look at Indy or learn a little bit more about Indy as part of your real estate portfolio, reach out to us, hit us up on the socials, or you can hit us up, just email us. You can email me, Kevin at dfy-realestate.com. If you're a client, you can email your coach. Let's get you in front of some stuff that's in Indy. Really incredible place to be buying right now, and frankly, for the last decade. So anyway, thank you so much for joining us, Jodi. Thank you, Steve, for taking your sweet time at the McDonald's drive-thru in order to get here to be able to record this podcast is great. Appreciate the sacrifice you made today, Steve.
Hey, my pleasure. Whatever I can do to help, Kev.
All right. Thanks, Jodi. See you guys.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.